As the re-inauguration of Donald Trump rapidly approaches, which will occur January 20th, Democrats are going to continue to get more and more unhinged every day. And yesterday, we saw their Trump derangement syndrome flare up pretty bad, which I'll get into in a moment. But yesterday was also the second most humiliating day in Kamala Harris's life, the first being election night 2024. Because yesterday was January 6th when the vice president certifies the electoral votes and making history, because not only is she certifying Donald Trump as the victor, but she also had to preside over her own loss, since obviously she was the opponent this time around. And Speaker of the House Mike Johnson couldn't keep the smirk off of his face.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
Look at Speaker Johnson. Yes, standing ovation. Cut back to Speaker Johnson. Okay, we're just going to have to cut to the chase here. This is the end of the ceremony. Yes. There it is. He can't even contain himself. Oh, yeah. There it is. Goodbye, Kamala. And Democrats are still having a hard time coming to grips with the fact that nobody cares about the mostly peaceful protest on January 6th back in 2021, which the Democrats tried to equate with 9/11.
It's that people, simply put, didn't care as much about the attack on the Capitol. Look at this. January 6th is your biggest memory of Trump's first term in office. By the time of 2024, look at this. Look at this. It was just 5%. Just 5% of Americans. And among Republicans, it was just 2%. So the bottom line is fewer Americans faulted Donald Trump or thought he was greatly responsible for the January 6th attack. And more than that, as it went into the rearview mirror, far fewer folks thought that it was their number one memory.
And you may be wondering, who in the heck are these people whose biggest memory of Donald Trump is January 6th? Well, look no further than the old bags on The View.
You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget.
Remember how hard they tried to actually make this the biggest story in the country? It was literally all they talked about every single night for years.
There's never been a bigger or more important story in American history than this.
This is the most important story in the history of the Republic.
These January 6th hearings are remarkable. They are riveting.
The hearings last night, they were searing, they were vivid.
It was compelling, it was chilling, the videos were chilling, and I think it's going to be historic.
This was a historic, compelling hearing.
This is very compelling television, because it's a very compelling hearing.
And it's compelling, it's must-see TV.
9/11 is nothing compared to January 6th. And the fact that the FBI and the rest of the government, if they are not on the same sort of war footing that we were on in the weeks and months and years after 9/11, shame on everyone.
Don't send me are you still talking about the insurrection? Yes. And we're going to continue to talk about it. So don't waste your finger energy, don't waste your breath, don't waste your time. It's important. I'm going to keep talking about it.
They certainly did, but Americans still didn't care. And even got annoyed after the regularly scheduled programming on all the big broadcast networks were interrupted by the primetime live January 6th hearings. And then CNN got upset because all of us normal people were making fun of them.
They are making fun of these remembrances. Right. They are pretending like we are all hysterical in trying to memorialize and capture what happened on that historic, horrible, violent day here in the Capitol, and it is reprehensible.
No, lady, we don't have to pretend that you're hysterical. We know you are. One of the most hysterical had to have been Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wasn't even in the Capitol that day. She was down the street in her office building, far away from the action, but that didn't stop her from having these kinds of delusions.
I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah. I thought I was.
And that you now understand, having thought about it.
That you are absolutely insane. We don't do that. We're not Muslim refugees. But this guy did put his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. And to be fair, he did steal a piece of mail that was on her desk, just as what he thought was a joke, as a little memento of his tour of the Capitol, which then landed him in prison for over 4 years. So hopefully Richard Barnett will be one of the many who has his sentence commuted on January 20th, shortly after Donald Trump is sworn into office. Thankfully, the Democrats' plans have completely collapsed, and they are still utterly humiliated. Here is Democrat Congressman Jamie Ratskin, who was laying out the Democrat scheme to try to not certify Donald Trump's votes. You know, the same thing that they were saying was undermining our democracy back when protesters were trying to encourage Mike Pence not to certify the supposed win of Joe Biden back on January 6, 2021.
So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that back to life, even as we're continuing to amend the Constitution, as Professor Hassan has invited us to do.
That's right. The Democrats always guilty of the very thing that they accuse the Republicans of doing. In this case, scheming to circumvent the Supreme Court and the Constitution and try to stop Donald Trump from becoming the rightful next president again. But speaking of mobs, there very well may be mobs in the streets on January 20th, trying to undermine our democracy and hoping to stop Donald Trump from being sworn in again. Just like there were on January 20th, 2017, when Antifa, Black Lives Matter, foot soldiers, and other Marxists literally rioted in Washington, D.C., trying to stop the inauguration. The George Soros puppet prosecutors then dropped all of the charges against all inauguration rioters. And yesterday, liberal lunatics lost their mind over a clip that was actually several days old, but it just started circulating yesterday, showing the new members of the Senate being sworn into office by Kamala Harris, thinking that a senator's husband snubbed Kamala Harris when she offered a handshake. This is the clip that they lost their minds about. There's Camel Face congratulating the new incoming senator and then extending her hand to her husband, who appears to snub her, until you realize that he's holding the Bible in his left hand and he has a cane in his right hand. So it wasn't a snub. He just couldn't shake her hand because he didn't want to drop his cane and lose his balance. But because Democrats are lunatics, countless of them completely flipped out over this, calling him a hateful bigot for not wanting to shake the hand of a black woman. This is Joe Walsh, a loser one-term former Republican congressman who turned never-Trumper, who just completely lost his mind, tweeting to Senator Fisher, asking why her husband refused to even look at Kamala Harris. Why did he refuse to shake the vice president's hand? Do you approve of this behavior? Here's another one of just countless posts denouncing this incident. What an absolutely pathetic display of fragility and hate, says this clown. The bare minimum, shaking someone's hand, is apparently too much for these people. This is cave dweller behavior. Plain and simple. No class, no decency. Just pure spite. But the best response comes from this clown, who nobody has ever heard of, Chris D. Jackson, who is a leader you know and trust from Tennessee. He's like a state legislator. He's worked in different commissions in Tennessee. And so he took it upon himself to investigate this situation. And after some digging, he says, He finally found the video from 6 years ago of Senator Fisher being sworn in by Mike Pence with her husband by her side. To his expectations, he says after the oath, her husband gleefully shook Pence's hand and thanked him for his leadership. Before they left, he shook his hand again. Given his refusal to shake Vice President Harris's hand today, I suspected him of being a bigot. Now I am certain. This insane post sparked a miracle. Brian Stelter, of all people, responded to him with an actual fact check of factual fake news, noting that the difference this year is he's relying on a cane. I'm sorry. The difference this year is he's relying on a cane. So there it is, folks. The insanity in 2025 is only getting started. And so to celebrate, you can get free shipping off of anything from my online store, markdice.com. I would say maybe for the next couple days by using the promo code 2025. So stock up on your Liberal Tears mug, your Trump Fight 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 shirt, your Liberals and Find a Care shirt, MAGA Mafia shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below. Enter the promo code 2025 to get free shipping for the next few days, and check them out.